Whenever you come in a room with Black Alabamians, we're like family. So what might normally be a business professional protocol is kind of gone out the window as long as we're respectful of each other. It's an absolute blessing to be able to come back to Nashville and have relationships already established so that you can just say, hey, I need to bring some people to come see what you're doing. And it's also a blessing that you have people who are doing great work.
We're here to observe 2 charter schools, specifically African American Center Charter Schools. We're going to look at what they're doing, how they're doing it, and how we may possibly be able to replicate it in Alabama.
I am looking for choices for future generations.
To get as much information as I can about the formation of a charter school.
I'm excited about being a part of this journey because, wow, it's good to know that we have other options for educating our children.
What I know is I'm at this point today because my mom exercised choice. And so what we can do is decide like what type of choice that means. And so I'm just grateful for the choice because people that stayed on this side of me and this side of me are not where I am. And I believe not because their parents didn't make a great choice, but because I got a choice outside of where we were. And so that has grounded me in why I do charter schools, why I believe in choice, and why I'm an advocate for people allowing families to make decisions on what's best for their child. Every school is not for every child, and I'm definitely a believer in that. And so neighborhood schools are great, but what about those students who need a smaller atmosphere because our middle school is really large? What do? We can't move because we don't have the resources. We can't pay for private school because we don't have the resources. And so at that point, it's like your child just needs to fit in the school setting that is for them because they live here, and that's unfair. Because those parents who do have the resources, guess what? They're going to private school. Sometimes they're homeschooling, sometimes because they can, but majority of them are working, so a lot of them can homeschool. So homeschool is definitely a great option. And then some of them just moved to a different county and was like, let me find a different school. So I believe in choice because I know that like it's grounded in what's best for children, especially in this age where like everyone is not fit for the large box program. I want to serve Black and brown children. I want to make sure that they have equal access to education. What I know and what I did before is we were always trying to find experiences to expose our Black and brown children to the world outside of them. And so what I had to think about myself is, so I have this opportunity in the walls of this middle school to expose our children who may live on one side of town, now is in the classroom with this other group of students on the other side of town. And so we have this great mix of children that we now can expose them to the world we're constantly saying we want to expose them to. So we have a very diverse model and a very interesting mix of children.
I'm hoping to eventually start a school like that, but I think first we're going to have to change the culture in Alabama where they're accepting and motivated to have a school like that.
We have teamed up with a couple of organizations today to bring parents to Nashville to see some high-performing charter schools. So on our tour today, we have clergy from all over the state of Alabama. We also have some parents on this trip, some grandparents, and some community leaders. We have some retired educators because they want to be involved in what's going on.
And what's powerful is in kindergarten, you see teachers still really working on, how do we sit and how do we, they're 5. But then in first, second, third, you would think that they've been in school for a month and it's literally their first day of school. They're coming in, they know what the procedures are, and it's just because it's school-wide. And every teacher is reinforcing it consistently, so if you learned it in kindergarten, well, guess what? You're doing the same thing. And how safe and secure does that make a child feel, right? And also comfortable. Like, I know what I'm gonna get. It's not a different system, it's a color chart, but then this system this year, it's just consistent throughout the school. Students are expected to sit a certain way in class, so they sit in star. The one thing I'll say is what's I think also powerful is we always try to think about the purpose behind everything. Like, why do we do what we do? And so the purpose behind STAR is a few different things. One is when I think about like what creates a scholarly environment, right? It's students who sit a certain way, your posture is a certain way, you're attentive, you're looking like, you know, it would be really disrespectful if I'm talking to you all and like you out the window, you looking at the, right? Like even what I see here is what we want to replicate in class, right? Like students are paying attention, they're sitting a certain way. And it's so powerful because it's what we know here, but oftentimes I'll go to other schools and I'll walk in a classroom and you have a child who's like head on his desk, slouch, and I'm just like, how you learning? You know, like, what's happening? What, you sleep? Why are your head down? I don't understand. Right? Okay, you're just gonna have your head, you know, they're working and, you know, so for us, it's what is the full posture of a student who really is attentive in their learning? And the other piece around the hands is, you know, we find in elementary school that teachers spend so much time telling students what not to do with their hands. Just tell them what to do. And so instead of a teacher being, don't do this, don't touch Johnny, don't take your hands out of your head, I told you not to, get out your desk, you know, like, start. So we have different signs for like, you know, I agree with you, I disagree with you, I want to build on it. It allows a teacher to see. So for example, if a student is wrong, you know, in their guided reading, maybe a student said a response, maybe their inference was incorrect. Well, the teacher will say, well, what do you all think? You know, maybe 3 students also agree with that inference. The teacher needs to identify who disagrees. All right, talk to them and share your opinion.
When you create a charter, you definitely can be creative in the model you want to have. We're preparing them for the independent life that they would have in college and the skills that they need. My goal is for that to transition to high school. So high school is basically like practice for what's going to happen in college. And so independence for me is like being able to like go to your teacher and ask for help when you don't understand. You may not have their numbers, but before you leave that classroom, you better make sure that you understand it.
But I was really blown away by what I did see, by the structure in the classroom, the rigor.
Learning that it's not something that you just jump into. It has to be a planned and purposely planned concept.
The investment of the community in the schools is huge.
For the first time in a long time, I felt hope for our children.
We're hopeful that parents and the folks who have attended this charter school tour will take themselves obviously back to Alabama and then start to take action in their community. We need the option in Alabama. I do not believe that charter schools are our silver bullet. I don't think that it's the answer that everybody is looking for, but I do think that it's a part of the solution. And so I do think that we should have multiple streams of educational options available, and I do think that charter should be one. And so the aha for me and for us as an organization is that we want to be a part of the process to continue to educate the community about what that looks like.